Title: The Goblin King's Shadow. The Goblin King was dead. His twisted crown, forged from bones and scraps of dwarven gold, lay shattered beside his crumpled corpse in the throne chamber of Goblin, the Deep Nest. No goblin knew what killed him. Some whispered poison, others spoke of elvish curses. But one truth remained: the deep throne was empty, and war had come to the tunnels. In the black halls below the misty mountains, the goblin tribes fractured. What had once been a brutal but unified swarm was now 6 feuding warbands, each ruled by one of the king's spawn, sons bred for treachery and torment. Grawl the Hook Hand, cruel and loud, held the upper mines. Scrag-Ear, a sneering torturer, ruled the pit kennels. Drog the Claw Mouth, born with tusks on both lips, controlled the chasm bridges. The others, lesser and meaner, held wormholes, rot tunnels, and bone markets. But then, there was Nohr. Nohr was a secret. He had no tusks, no goblin eyes, no green-gray skin. His face was pale, his limbs long and thin. He moved quietly, ate little, and never laughed. Raised in the deepest dark, in silence, by the king's old bone priestess, he was told he was the clever one, the forgotten one, the one meant for more. Nohr listened. He learned. He watched his brothers kill, enslave, betray. And then he whispered into the walls. The shadows answered. When the warbands began to clash, Nohr struck. First, he sent whispers into Grawl's tunnels that Scrag had poisoned the king. Grawl attacked without warning, tearing through 2 layers before realizing he'd been baited. Then he set flame maggots loose in Drog's breeding pits. Half his army was eaten alive in minutes. Nohr never showed his face, but his signs were everywhere, mangled. Scribes, missing teeth, bone sigils carved into tunnel walls. Goblins began to whisper, "The Shadow Prince walks. He sees without light." He was born from the rock itself. One night, Scrag-Ear led his remaining soldiers into the crown tunnel, where the throne chamber lay. He found the hall dark, the torches out, the bones of the king still unburied, and there, in the throne, sat Nohr, alone. He wore no crown, no armor, only a cloak made from bat skin and stitched tongues. "You dare sit there?" Scrag hissed, drawing a rusted blade. Nohr did not rise. He did not move. Instead he said, "You were never the king's son. You were his blade, a hound. And now, you've bitten your last throat." From the darkness they came, tunnel walkers, silent goblins bred in shadow, loyal only to Nohr. They fell upon Scrag's army like a storm. Nohr didn't even blink. By the next night, 5 of the 6 warbands were ash and blood. Nohr moved through the deep nest like a ghost. He did not bark orders, he whispered them, and every goblin obeyed. They called him the Pale Claw, the White Hunger, the Shadow that learns. But none dared call him what he truly was. Then came the Horn of Dwarogrim. From the outer tunnels came a sound not heard in 100 years, a dwarven war horn. The sons of Erebor were tunneling eastward, reclaiming ancient forges. And they were coming for Goblin. The goblins panicked. The clans fractured again, until Nohr appeared at the bone spire and said just one thing: "Let them come." When the dwarves arrived, fire in hand, war machines behind them, they found the tunnels quiet, too quiet. The first 20 warriors never returned, neither did the second. Then they saw the walls move, not stone, not shadow, goblin eyes, thousands. Nohr stood above them on a rock altar, arms outstretched like wings. He did not scream, he did not rage, he simply pointed, and the swarm descended. It wasn't a battle, it was erasure. The dwarves were pulled into holes screaming, flames spilled, but the goblins drank it. Steel rang, but the goblins learned. Each fallen dwarf taught them something new, and Nohr remembered it all. When the blood dried, Nohr entered the throne room once more. He sat on the deep throne. This time, no one questioned him. The goblins had a king again. Not one of tooth and rage, but one of silence, memory,
and shadow. They say Nohr is still down there, waiting, learning, and that when the mountains fall, he'll rise again, not to reclaim tunnels, but to teach the surface what the dark remembers.